Welcome back, teachers and lay leaders. This will be the 10th lesson of the Gospel series. You should be picking up on this um, again now that the missions conference is over. Some of you are still teaching the Gospel lessons, and you should be. As we took a quick break over the last 4 weeks, 3 of the weeks you should have taught missions lessons, and then 1 week we had the joint Sunday school. So now, wherever you left off on the gospel lessons before Missions Month, which is September, you should be picking back up on those gospel lessons. And this one is actually number 10. So some of you are teaching number 8, some of you number 9, and this is number 10. So this particular lesson is going to deal with issues of the heart, and the objectives of the lesson is to encourage all the recipients, teachers and lay leaders, to look past the fig leaves we often set up in our lives. So we're going to look at the Genesis chapter 3 account, Genesis 3, 4, and 5. And there's a quick opening survey. Hopefully it'll get the people in your class thinking. The introduction of the lesson is going to define a fig leaf religion. What does this look like? And we're going to look at the account there in Genesis 3. And there are several, 4 total things that you might find are evidences of fig leaf religion. And then the purpose, again, to see beyond the externals, to identify the issues of the heart. And we can't see the heart of individuals. We all agree on that. The Scripture is really clear on that. What we can know from the Scriptures is that sin is not just a matter of behavior. Sin is a matter of a wrong belief. It's an issue of the heart. And so that's what this lesson is going to help to try to exploit and understand. We're going to look at the Genesis 3 account and primarily 2 lies that were believed. And we see them when we listen to Satan in the serpent speaking. We're going to define what is unbelief. Please know that as you study this lesson, it is not what just some simple answer like the absence of belief. Unbelief is far worse than that. When we look at the Scriptures, we learn that unbelief is the absence specifically of belief in God. We're going to see what that means and how that materializes in our behaviors, and how our behaviors can show whether we're in unbelief or not. We're going to talk about the unbelief of the believer, which is something Pastor Green had taught a long time ago, and I remember him using that phrase. And so in the lesson, we'll cover that. And then there's a large section on application. Where do we start? And this particular section is just trying to help you be able to give specific thoughts to those you're teaching and for yourselves on, okay, how do we address these things, this unbelief, if it's a heart issue? How do I get to a point where I don't just reform behavior, but we address the heart? Discerning heart issues will be covered. God's glory above my glory, that's really one of the key issues, and there's some scriptures there that will help you understand what I mean by that. That ultimately when someone sins, let's say we're the offended party, it's far worse than that, because it's not about us being offended. All sin is first and foremost sin against God. And so there are many scripture references throughout the lesson. I hope you'll look those up, see the examples that are given. And then how the gospel addresses the issues of the heart. That'll be another thought there that we'll cover. And then at the very end, in the conclusion, the application to husbands, applications to wives, application to the employees, and application to all. Now, I could have kept writing different examples of application, but I didn't. So you'll see in the conclusion, the husbands, the wives, or the husbands and the employees are covered. But you can make this application. Once you understand the principle of the lesson, you'll understand how to apply it in any walk of life. For singles, if you're teaching singles, for teenagers, for young adults, if you're teaching young adults, whatever the case is, understanding what is at the root of sinful behavior, understanding the heart issues, the 2 primary lies, that's really what this lesson is to drive at, and to help us become more gospel-centered and understanding how the gospel changes our heart, and then ultimately how that is reflected in our behavior. So I hope it's a blessing to you as well as to those that you're teaching. It is a long lesson, and so I would encourage you to break it up as you need to teach it. If you can get through this entire lesson in one Sunday, you probably have not done your own personal study enough, or maybe you haven't understood the lesson. And so I would just encourage you, please take time, develop, study, and then make good application for those that you're teaching. Okay? God bless.